you ever had to deal with a major meltdown from a celebrity or influencer on one of your shows that you worked
Oh
on?
yeah, but people won't be surprised to hear is
Welcome to Socially Acceptable, a social commerce influencer and creator economy podcast. I'm Nicole and I'm here with Jenny. And the two of us are co-hosts for this new podcast, and this is our very first episode. And so for today, I'm just going to be interviewing Jenny so that you can get to know the both of us. So just to give you a little background here on Jenny, Jenny is a social media expert and TV veteran. She has over 14 years experience in production and social media. And back in her TV days, she was a lead camera utility, worked on some of the best reality TV shows, including Love is Blind, MasterChef, and The Masked Singer.
Is that the best?
They're some of the best.
Wow, I didn't get to work on Housewives. One, Orange County, for a couple days.
Okay. Along with all of her experience in this space, she's also a gamer and live streams for brands on Twitch, Amazon Live, and TikTok Shop. And she also happens to be my co-founder of Ghost Agency, which is a social commerce agency that reps brands and also works with creators in this space.
We are in the corporate buzzwords, the intersection of brands and creators and commerce and gaming and social media, and we close the loop on
Oh my God. We're already getting into buzzwords and we're not even like 2 minutes into this. Thanks. Great. Okay. So I have some questions for you. I'm sure we're going to get off script, but I'll have to start us out with your background in TV and film is really unique. And most people who work in social media don't have that background. So what inspired you to want to go into that?
So, worked in TV for over 10 years. The reason why I wanted to leave TV was because I loved everything I did, but I felt like there wasn't really much more for me to grow in. Also, technology in TV, as far as the cameras we use, the new, I don't know how else to describe it, the metas we do as far as camera tricks and cinematography. Obviously, there's not too much that goes into reality TV, but it's just very slow compared to what you see YouTubers doing and other people on social media. So I just had this urge to keep learning and keep growing. And I also thought it would be nice to work for a company where there was a 401k.
Valid. Valid. Isn't that the dream, right? I always got to aim for the 401k. Okay, so now that we asked a normal question, time to put you in the hot seat. Uh, immediately have to ask, which I already know the answer to, but I think it's fair for everyone else to hear this. Have you ever had to deal with a major meltdown from a celebrity or influencer on one of your shows that you worked on?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Which one are you going to tell?
Let's see. Oh, gosh. How many have there been?
You don't have to get yourself in trouble, so you don't
No,
need to
I
name
don't care.
names.
Well, one I will say is an obvious one that people won't be surprised to hear is Gordon Ramsay. Is it really
Calling him
surprise?
out?
I don't know. I feel like he would call himself out on that.
Okay.
I mean, he's on camera. I guess I wouldn't call it like meltdowns, but he has his moments where I don't know. It's not so much like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just he has very high standards for things, so he expects the best of the best. I would say this was over 10 years ago that I would see different moments in the beginning of his TV career, but beginning of MasterChef.
Okay.
But he has gone a lot better since then, and he's been better at being able to communicate things without letting it be in front of everyone. That makes sense. But even when like it was in front of everyone, it's not a surprise. It's just Gordon being Gordon.
I didn't expect our first episode to already have a name dropped, but okay. I love it.
There was a moment when I probably endangered his life, so I probably deserved it. And yeah.
Are you going to share more details on that, or?
I was rigging GoPros on a jet ski, and can I share this either? But somewhere out there in Huntington Beach in the ocean is a GoPro at the bottom of the floor.
Oh my God. You littered. Wow. Okay. You were mentioning what it's like to deal with a celebrity having one of those moments. What is it like when you're working in the reality setting? This is like something that everyone asks, and I don't think I know the answer. Are you manipulated to present things in a certain kind of way for stuff to match a storyline, or is it just everything is
Is
unfolding?
reality TV scripted, basically?
Yeah, is reality
Yeah.
TV scripted?
So people like to overgeneralize reality TV.
Yeah.
I worked mostly in the competitive space, so
Okay.
competition shows like Masked Singer, MasterChef, all those. So
So
in
is it
those,
rigged?
there's, I would say, I wouldn't say rigged, but when it comes to competition shows, there's a lot of strict legal involved that you can't, there's no way to rig it
Oh,
because there's
okay.
a lot of like third party lawyers. Is when money's on the line,
Yeah.
as you know, with like what kind of legal giveaways we can do on social
Yeah.
media, there's a lot of rules when it comes to winning something.
Okay.
So we have to, there's a
Yeah.
lot of third party stuff that enforces those things. As far as non competition shows, I will say I kind of break things down as like there's competition, there's stage shows like The Voice. Masked Singer is kind of a hybrid because we shoot off stage and on stage. Then there's house reality shows, and those are shows like just kind of capturing all the 24/7, like Big Brother or Real World or Jersey Shore, where it's just documenting every day.
Mm-hmm.
There's no agenda, just throw crazy people together. That's most of the time is more produced than rigged. And by produced, I mean you cast the right people, you force them to be in the same room together, and things are going to happen.
Okay.
So
That's pretty fair.
imagine people like the worst people you don't like in this world, and you're forced to be 24/7 around them all the time. Chaos is going to erupt
Yeah.
no matter
Yeah.
what. Like
Which is
I
fair.
would react to. And as producers know, like things that trigger you, then
It's a
there's
strategic choice then.
exactly. But I will say there are shows out, there's also another genre out there that I call reality sitcoms. And those are ones that are definitely scripted and where like every episode is to like
Name names.
self-contained. There's certain,
Name names. Okay, that's
I'll
that's
say
expected.
some of the drama you can tell is real, obviously, like
Yeah.
between sister drama, you can tell like it's just normal sister dramas. So there's another subgenre of reality shows that I like to call just reality family shows. And those one may not be scripted, but they might be too smart for TV. This kind of happens in Housewives, where that you become so familiar with how to be on TV and you know how people are going to react on social media that you play into it. Like it's too much in your head of creating your storylines. And
Okay.
I think people do it without realizing that they do it.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, for example, Giannina's season 1 of Love is Blind, people thought Love is Blind was scripted because of the way she is acting, but she was just too aware that she was on camera.
Yeah, which I mean, I think that's also very valid because like having been on the receiving end of being on like a reality type show,
That's right.
it makes such a like the environment feels like a pressure cooker because you don't really have much time. I don't know like what it's like on those shows, but at least on the one I was on, you don't have any time to just relax
Yeah.
and think your own thoughts. You're just being in one room with hair and makeup, in one room with like this,
Yes.
like room that's like the green room, but even then they're coming in and asking you questions, one's with
Yes.
interviews, one's with like the actual like competition. You don't have downtime. And so I get how that can for some people push them into this headspace of like just obsessiveness. And I guess that's pretty valid, but I don't know.
That's why when people argue online, like on Reddit, about like all the semantics of what someone said, I tend to be more on the forgiving side
Yeah.
of just you never really know. Like they don't even know what they've said, but like you said, like you probably been on the main set for the main scenes. Then
Mhm.
once you're done, they're gonna throw you into interviews, and the interviews they throw a bunch of questions at you.
And with these shows that you were a part of, have you ever been on one that faced like really bad backlash or controversy?
I mean, the closest one I can think of is Love Is Blind because of the lawsuits.
Yeah.
With I haven't been following up on that, but as far as I think mental health plays a big part as far as any reality show, people that get
Yeah.
casted taking advantage of people that have like obvious mental health issues. Everyone usually goes through like psych tests to make sure they are capable of being on TV. I tend to stay away from the ones that are no would be toxic to work on
Yeah.
and are pretty toxic type of content. Like I worked a couple days on marriage boot camp, and it was the most uncomfortable situation I've ever been in. And I've shot like documentary shows about people with eating disorders and having to film like literally everything.
Wow.
But being on marriage boot camp, being stuck in a room with a couple and where someone's being verbally abusive to the other person and I'm alone in the room with them just filming like that,
Just feels wrong,
I
I'm
was
sure.
like,
Yeah.
I need to get off this show.
Yeah.
I mean, I watch stuff like that, but at the same time, it's different
Yeah,
when you're
yeah.
there.
It's a completely different environment if you're like sitting there and having to like witness it, which
Mm-hmm.
is probably its own beast.
Yeah.
Okay, so now that we've spilled tea, time to be a little bit more positive, I hope. So you've worked in the TV space alongside social media as well. So in the social media and TV space, who's someone that you would say is really underrated, who deserves more recognition? And that can be from either space you've worked in.
Oh.
Forgets every single person you've ever met in your entire life.
Okay, I will say uh from both TV and social media, even though she is well known and gets a lot of attention already, but I don't still think she's underrated in certain parts, is Drew Barrymore.
Interesting. Okay.
Because she's someone that just created a whole different type of talk show that,
Mhm.
I know people kind of meme her for it, but at the same time,
Do we need to hold hands for this?
please don't invade this space here.
This
This
is a
is my
line.
line right here.
Gotta come back here.
But I think just her ability to, especially seeing her grow up in movies and with all the tribulations she's gone through and all the things she's overcome, I think
Hmm.
people don't give her enough credit for that,
Yeah.
for being able to have this amazing show now and like amazing friendships and being able to be such a great role model. On top of that, being really good at promoting her different lines of products.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because when you see
So
her content,
impressive.
she's just filming it herself in her bathroom or in the kitchen, like just in her own home, that she doesn't think it needs to be this big production or
Which
anything.
it doesn't. And it's
Yeah.
so great that she gets that. It's
Yeah.
rare.
And
Yeah.
she like is just in her like big t-shirt, PJs and like hair like not done and everything and just her being able to show her real self because I feel like that's kind of the game there is like coming off as your real self, but obviously there's still certain parts of yourself you need to protect. But she's really good at I think finding that balance.
Yeah, and I mean, authenticity is such an important piece of social media that's often disregarded. And especially in the TV and reality space, I can imagine how not very much of that will often come off as authentic because it might be contrived in just like the production world or just people's attempts to try and purport themselves to be a certain kind of way. But when it comes to social media, that's really like transformed this whole environment with things like Instagram being, a closer version to like TV where everything probably had to be very curated in the early days, but now with things like TikTok and Twitch, everything's more off the cuff. And I know authenticity is something we often talk about, but aside from that, what would you say is one of your biggest tips for people who are trying to make content in a space that has traditionally been more curated?
Like if they were to make content for Instagram or YouTube?
Any sort of like platform where now that things are shifting from being more curated to more authentic, what would you say is your number one tip for people who are trying to like break into the
Ooh,
content space?
God. So I would say it can be a bit jarring for people to feel their authentic selves, and they think the more low effort it is, the less successful that piece of content is going
Yeah.
to be. But don't
Yeah.
think about that. It takes a lot of practice, just do more. And maybe sometimes you just need to record a lot and sit on it, look at it the next day and see how you feel about it. But I would say the most important thing is make content that you're happy with yourself, that
Hmm.
either entertains you or feels interesting to you. And once you do that, then you have to do it for yourself first. And obviously we need to see engagement, views, follower growth, etc. But it helps when people see that authenticity when it's something that you genuinely believe in what you're saying and it's something that you enjoy. So being able to first make content for yourself first is really important.
I love that.
And then it'll come out more naturally because you just see, I think a lot of people get fatigued just forcing a lot of content out there for the sake
For
of
sure.
content.
Yeah. No, 100%.
What would be your advice for someone trying to be more authentic?
Just record yourself all the time
Mm-hmm.
because the more you do it, the less uh, uncomfortable it's going to be. I think the goes for so many things where I know Brene Brown often talks about how shame exists because you feel like you're keeping this big secret. And so the more
Mm,
you talk about things that make you uncomfortable, of things that you've dealt with, your traumas, your whatever, it makes it less of this like deep, dark secret. And it's the same thing with content where when I started, I was so uncomfortable filming myself on camera. I would think about every insecurity. I'd be like, I have this pimple, I have this thing, like I need to get a nose job. And like, even if I think those things now, it's not something I feel like I need to hide from existing online. Now I just share that as a part of my journey where I just have made so much content at this point where it feels like people who are observing that are simply going to see my reality now rather than only the clips that are limited that I'm making. So,
yeah.
yeah.
I would say it's definitely the practice of warming up to getting used to it. And
Hmm.
even if you're posting, just don't care about the numbers in the beginning. If you were to look at a lot of the mega influencers and scroll all the way back to their very first content, it's obviously not the same as what they put out now,
Yeah.
but you can go back and see like how they've evolved and just trust the fact that it's a journey
Yeah.
and you're not going to figure it out in the beginning.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, last question to wrap things up. This one's a little bit open ended, but especially since this is our first episode and we're welcoming everyone into the world of Jennifer Wu, would love for you to share just something that people might not know about you that you think is important when they are getting to know what your professional journey has been like or personal journey. What do we need to know about you?
I'm older than I look. Yeah, I think, I mean, I joked about it, but I think the age thing is something where, I mean, I don't really, it doesn't bother me whatever people think about my age, but I think when I really emphasize how old I am, like being 38, is to emphasize I've had these past careers that sometimes like people don't really acknowledge of
Yeah.
like my job was literally to know everything about cameras and multi-cam production and tech engineering and everything. So when it comes to lighting, cameras, audio, everything, like those are things that I had to understand and that I was responsible for. And I was responsible for training and managing teams of like 10 to 30 people and doing and working closely with directors with camera blocking. And so there's this whole past of like things that I was responsible for. And then, so I guess when people see me, I mean, you've been in these meetings where people are like, oh, you're young, and like they don't really. And I think maybe it's something as women too, where we're feeling like we're always trying to ask for like the credit that people aren't giving us because of the way we look.
Yeah.
But like when people find out your age and then might like automatically assume you're fresh into this space, but you've been working for probably longer than a lot of other people in this space too. So I think it's just the experience that people don't realize
Yeah.
that I've had going all the way back to Geek Squad in 2003.
And now look at us
Mm-hmm.
running a business together. But I think that's really a wonderful intro to you. We hope to be interviewing people in the social commerce space, but also just creator economy as a whole and influencers, UGC talent, people who we feel could really be useful for anyone to derive value from that information. So if you're tuning in for the first time, which everyone is, please be sure to subscribe to this, follow whatever platform you're listening on. We're going to be distributing this to all major podcasting platforms. So follow along for our journey. We'll be posting different clips on our socials and we'll tag that in the description. And thank you again so much, Jenny.
I don't know what to do with my hands.
Okay. Okay. And that's socially acceptable. Bye.